I'm Mike Huckman at Good Day Bio, and we are talking about this new report out from Bio here at this year's International Convention, discussing best practices when it comes to state and regional economic development in biotechnology communities. And to talk more about this is the Executive Vice President of Government Affairs and External Relations at Bio, Jean Haggerty, as well as Pete Pellerito, who is a Bio Senior Policy Advisor. Welcome to you both, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us here today.
You are welcome. So why do you publish this type of report every other year?
Well, I think what we try to do is help the broad audience of industry, academic research communities, and policymakers understand the value of our industry, not only in terms of jobs and economic value, but important necessarily economic development measures that need to be in place to support it. Our companies are emerging, testing, and manufacturing.
It runs the whole spectrum.
Runs the whole gamut, and if you think about public policy to support that gamut, small companies need different kinds of legislative support than large companies. Small companies don't have revenue, large companies do, they have cash flow. So we're trying to help understand better what the relationships are with policymakers to make the cash flow happen, to have more workforce opportunities, to bring in more intellectual property of value to the community at large, and of course to patients and the ag community.
So Jean, at a high level, what are some of the key findings from your report this year? And was there anything in there that surprised you, or that's kind of cropped up that's new?
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that we always like to see is how legislators are trending. You know, are things being given or are they being taken away? Because we've seen, I think, a lot of churn in state legislatures about the value of innovation and the value of developing a strong ecosystem. The two hands don't necessarily talk to each other. So I think while governors and state legislators get up and say, you know, it's so critical for us to build these businesses in our states, we want to have strong ecosystems, they're also struggling with cash flow and budgets that they have to meet every year. And so looking at trends, looking at best practices, I think that I was very, very pleased to see that a lot of the state legislators are looking for new and creative ways to incentivize this industry. I mean, we're seeing bills passed that value infrastructure, that value academic research, that are creating biotech funds within the states. I mean, over the last few years, New York has created a bio fund. We're seeing more investment put in Maryland and other areas.
All things that are needed. They're key ingredients if you're going to have a thriving biotechnology, life sciences community. So are there any specific calls to action for either governments, for academic institutions, for the biotechnology, life sciences sector contained in here?
Yeah, there's a couple. If you're an early stage company, there's a continuing need for capital to help drive the really early stage research activity. That's pivotal, because when you think about our industry is 35 years old, and still young, and most of our companies came from academic research, and they started out small. You look at our large Genentech, Amgens, and similar kinds of companies, they started off as small. They needed that. And in today now, they're in a whole different place. We have a lot of great intellectual property in place in this country, coming from great funding from the federal government. And we want to make sure that doesn't stay on the shelf, that it is actually moving forward. So capital is very, very important to those really early stage companies. The second is, and probably increasingly so, is workforce. I always say to public officials and my colleagues at Bio, you can build a great building, great equipment, have a great kitchen, but so to speak, facilities, et cetera, but you need people to drive all of that activity. And I think if I were to say one of the major things that governments are very interested in, state governments in particular, is helping the workforce conversation going forward. I think they've come to realize that our industry is large and diverse, that we need educated people in all phases, PhDs, masters, bachelors, and even community colleges.
Yeah.
But
I
think, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's one thing that people don't realize about the biotech industry in the United States is that when we say biotech, they think scientists. And in truth, you're talking about an entire workforce. And so it is building up the community colleges to have biotechnology training programs. North Carolina does that very well. Building
My
up
home state, by the
your
way.
home. Oh, nice. Building up the college infrastructure to have people that can actually manufacture these drugs and biologics. And so I think it's almost in some areas they think, well, we don't have we need to have a stronger academic research center, and that is absolutely true. I mean, that's one of the most critical pillars, but it needs to follow down the line as well.
Takes a village. As we all know, there is a war on talent right now as well, so you have to add that dynamic to it, but really valuable, insightful report. Thanks so much to Jean Haggerty and Pete Pellerito for joining us here at Good Day Bio.